Welcome to BRASH Sports NFL Conference Championship Weekend Spectacular. That's right. I added spectacular because I think it's going to be a spectacular episode. This episode is brought to you by nobody still because they don't trust us to keep these things going. But it's fine. We're going to get there. I'm Josh. I'm joined by my best friend, Brandon, as always. We've got a lot to get into. Running through our NFL divisional round weekends, conference championship, coaching carousel, all types of goodies. So, Brandon, before we get into all that, what is going on, buddy? How you doing today?
Doing great, my friend. It's good that we're rolling through the playoffs here. It's always sad getting close to the end of the season. It always just flies by, but we just less games to talk about, less matchups to talk about. It will probably be a shorter episode than usual for us. We usually run anywhere from a 45-minute to an hour plus, but hey, we're going to get to what we need to talk about. There's a couple little things in the Brash Sports page I wanted to discuss, and then we'll move right along and we'll recap our divisional round matchups, and we will get prepared for the conference finals. So with that, are you ready, my friend? Are you ready to get started?
Short and sweet. Let's fucking do this.
All right, let's bust open that Brash Sports page. Not a whole lot to get to in terms of the headlines, but we have to talk about the NFL head coaching moves because there have been quite a few. We probably already touched on 2 or 3 of these last week. Who gives a shit? We're just going to quickly recap because out of the 8 coaching vacancies, 6 have been filled now officially. One just as recent as yesterday, was it? They snuck that one in there on us.
Last night.
Yeah. But Patriots were the first one. They already had it planned. I mean, good for them, thinking that getting well ahead of the game. We did mention that Gerard Mayo is the new guy in charge in New England. Antonio Pierce, we mentioned that it was all signs are pointing to him being retained from his interim role and becoming the official head coach there, and I'm glad they did that. Solid move for them. I think it's because a lot of other teams were sniffing around, showing interest, and they're like, "Oh, we would look really stupid if he went somewhere else," and we had a chance. So good for the Raiders. That one just felt more like the players made the decision. Like, if you guys do not bring Pierce back, we will strike.
Yeah.
Some of these are pretty interesting. The Titans going with Brian Callahan. I didn't even know he was an option. Like, I didn't know that was a big name being floated around out there. Of course, anytime you're in that NFL bloodline, because that's the son of Bill Callahan, that ups your stock regardless. But where was he before? I did not jot that down.
Oh boy, I don't remember
this homework.
This one kind of flew under the radar for me. I forgot that it had happened, but it was shocking because there were a lot of big names that were being floated around, and his name was nowhere near it. Like, a lot of people said Dan Quinn was a front runner for that job, and a lot of other big names.
I'm an idiot. He was the freaking offensive coordinator for Cincinnati. So
yes, that's it. That sounds right. That sounds right.
That's pretty good resume right there. So good for the Titans going offense and picking up Brian Callahan, switching things up for their new quarterback in Will Levis. So that should be exciting to watch next year. The biggest name out of all of them, of course, Jim Harbaugh. I mean, he really did. This one was predictable in many ways. I just felt like he was more suited for the Patriots. I really thought that was going to be his landing spot, but Patriots were so quick to make their decision. Again, they didn't interview anybody, I think, except for Gerard Mayo. But so Harbaugh after that is pretty easy. Come on, nice sunny LA. You got your quarterback. You've got a playoff caliber team right off the bat. It's going to be a tough division for the next few years, but if anyone can get the Chargers over that hump, it's definitely Jim Harbaugh. So, good for them, sealing the deal with him. And the Panthers, this guy, I'll be honest, I did look it up. He was the offensive coordinator for the Bucks, right? And they had an impressive season given the lack of, quality talent they had on that side of the ball. But Dave Canales, is that how you properly pronounce it?
Yes.
He'll be the new guy in charge in Carolina. And this is the one they snuck on us. The Falcons, who had interviewed Bill Belichick twice. And typically when you hear that second interview, you're like, okay, they're just pretty much working out the details at this point on what they have to do to make it a done deal. They went with Raheem Morris. I did not see that coming, but he was a coordinator there
Yes.
years ago. So, he's coming back to Atlanta to coach the Falcons. So good for Raheem Morris getting another opportunity to be a head coach, because with the Buccaneers, it didn't go too good.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think all in all, I think all the teams did a good job hiring from what I can tell. I mean, you can tell there's teams are shifting to more toward the offensive side of the ball, which I think is important. If you look at, I mean, pretty much all the teams that made it a deep run in the playoffs are all offensive minded guys. I think Jim Harbaugh, to touch on it for a sec, is going to turn them into contenders quickly. I heard a really interesting point made by somebody on the internet. His value going into the next few drafts is immeasurable because he's been scouting all the top players in the country for years in Michigan, right? So
good point.
So he already has a leg up on a lot of these guys, because especially going into the draft, because he knows all the players. He's already been scouting them. So huge leg up for them. And they have like the 5th or 6th pick overall. I think that they can trade back, get a bunch of picks, and put him to work finding sleepers deep in the draft that he was scouting from his Michigan days. So I think the Chargers are going to get good and get good fast. Dave Canales was a name that I was like, fucking who? But looking into it, he took Geno Smith in Seattle, turned him into a legitimate quarterback. And then you have Baker Mayfield in Tampa Bay. We're looking at him like, I thought they were going to be a bottom 3 team in the league. He got a playoff win. Like, I think that there could be something there. And if you have a young quarterback like Bryce Young, having a guy who's a bit of a quarterback guru is a no-brainer. So I think a lot of these moves made a lot of sense. I think there's a lot of good fits. And what's really funny is Bill Belichick and Pete Carroll are sitting here with their dicks in their hands going, what the hell just happened? Who are these guys? How are we not getting these jobs? Pretty wild stuff, man.
Yeah, and Pete Carroll, as far as I heard, he didn't interview anywhere. So I don't know if that was simply because maybe he's done officially taking some time off. I mean, he's up there, right? He's in his mid 70s or some shit.
He's 72.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, yeah, and Belichick, who had interviewed with like three or four teams, maybe it's just 3. Yeah. There's only 2 vacancies remaining at the moment with Seattle and Washington. He's definitely not going to either of those 2 teams. Which, real quick, Josh, I mentioned this before. We'll talk about who we think is going to go to Seattle and come to the Redskins. But Belichick, I do find it interesting that I hope he doesn't coach. Let me start off by saying that. I hope he doesn't. Good riddance, like I mentioned before. But that rumor floating around, or that somebody just tossed out there, which was, just a very juicy little nugget, if there were any truth to it, in that there's a chance Andy Reid might call it quits at the end of this year.
Right.
And perhaps Belichick's just kind of waiting in the wings to swoop in and take over that Goliath of a team. Because that's one that he could immediately lead to another Super Bowl, get another ring, or at least in 1 year break Shula's record, right? So
yeah,
for overall wins. But again, just a rumor floating around. As far as we know, there's absolutely no truth to it. As far as we know, Andy Reid ain't going anywhere. Yeah. So but if there were any team that made sense for him, it would be the Chiefs. it would be that type of squad that's just ready to win immediately, and is coming off of 2 Super Bowls in the last 3 years. So
yeah, and I think it has to be a team that is ready to go because one, Belichick's track record in the last couple years has been he's not good at drafting and developing young players. He needs to take something that's already existing, already good, and then take it to the next level, which is why I don't think he got any of the jobs that were available. And yeah, I don't. It would have to be Kansas City, or else I don't think anyone's going to hire him because you already have those negatives against him, and now you're going to add a year off of football potentially. Like I'm saying, if it's not Kansas City, like that's I don't know, kind of crazy. So
the only way you bring in a guy like Belichick is if you are expecting to have a chance at a Super Bowl that year.
Right.
That first season with him as the head coach, because he could retire at any moment. And, you see all these hires. These are all guys that these organizations are thinking we could possibly start something special. We're starting fresh and we could retain these guys for 10 plus years.
Yeah.
If all
you
goes
want
well.
a 10-year guy. You don't want a 3-year guy.
You don't want a 2 or 3 year guy. Yeah, absolutely. So we'll see how that transpires. Because if he doesn't get a coaching gig, he's not going to be in football at all. I don't see him being an analyst or in the booth or anything like that.
God bless him.
He just comes off as a boring sack of shit.
He was the best coach in the history of the league for 20 plus years. Fucking hang it up, dude. No one's going to be mad at you. Hang it up. No one's going to look at me like, well, he didn't pass Don Shula and win, so
nobody's going to care.
Yeah, nobody's going to give a shit, dude.
No.
6 Super Bowls.
That'll only bother him. It'll keep him up at night.
That's true.
What was that? Don Shula's ghost. You were never as good as me.
Don Shula's still alive, isn't he?
Shit, is he?
I think so.
So it's not his ghost. Don Shula's just broke into his house.
That's even more terrifying.
Yeah, exactly.
Get out of here, Don Shula.
Just got a bed sheet over him. You were never as good as me. So the only 2 vacancies remaining are Seattle and Washington, as we previously mentioned here. How do you see those playing out? Quite interesting. I think we're both going to lean in the same direction for Seattle. The Commanders just interviewed Dan Quinn for the 3rd time.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. But you and I had a previous discussion a week or so ago, and we both feel like he's best suited to return to Seattle, seeing as how he was the defensive coordinator there and had the Legion of Boom. And, it would just make perfect sense for him to take over that role. If he's going to be a head coach anywhere. But where are you leaning with the Seahawks?
Well, I think Mike Vrabel is a name that's still out there.
Yep.
And I think he did a good enough job at Tennessee to warrant another shot at coaching an NFL team. So if you're Seattle and you're weighing the two, they're pretty even. So I could see them, interviewing and going with their gut. Hey, who do we like more? If it's Mike Vrabel, then Dan Quinn really has to hope for the Redskins. But I think the Redskins are hoping for somebody else, someone by the name of Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator of the Lions. So Dan Quinn might be shit out of luck. If I'm the Redskins, I'd want Ben Johnson. Again, I want offensive-minded guys.
Yeah.
Especially when you guys are going to draft a quarterback. You guys have a young offense with some really good playmakers. So I would definitely want Ben Johnson, but Dan Quinn has led a team to the Super Bowl. Like, he's not a schlub, but just the way the league is moving, I don't want defensive guys. So I could see it being – I could flip a coin for Vrabel or Dan Quinn in Seattle. And then for Washington, I think they want Ben Johnson. And I'm only saying that because I would. I have no idea. I haven't read into the Washington rumor mill. I'm sure you know better than me.
They don't
But
leak anything
they don't
anymore.
leak anything.
The dance now
Oh,
airs over, so no more leaks.
damn it! That's not great. That's not great for us. But
There's still leaks at FedEx Field, but there's no
yeah,
leaks coming out
yeah.
of the front office
The
anymore.
sewage is still leaking,
It's
but the
pouring all over
rumors are
everybody.
not.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I wouldn't be shocked if it's like if Vrabel and Quinn are the two guys in either spot, and then Dan Quinn just stays with the Lions for another year.
You mean the Cowboys?
Oh, I meant Ben Johnson.
Yeah. Okay.
If Quinn and Vrabel go to Washington and Seattle, either one to either place,
yeah,
then Ben Johnson stays. I could
Yeah.
see that. I could also see one of I don't know. There's basically three main candidates for two jobs, and I could see any of the three in either spot. So
yeah.
no clue.
Seattle, I absolutely think it's going to be Dan Quinn. I feel like that one just makes all the sense in the world. Wouldn't it be, wouldn't knock my shoes off if Vrabel got the spot, but I don't think it will be a Ben Johnson or a Bobby Slowick that goes to Seattle. I think for the Seahawks, it looks like they just have a certain way of operating, and it's been successful. So they're going to stick to their recipe. Whereas with Washington, we're starting anew with everything. I mean, new ownership, new general manager. And I was hoping for a young, up and coming, first time offensive head coach.
You did say
And
that.
that's where it looks like, just by who they've interviewed, they are leaning towards. By all accounts, Ben Johnson is the one that they're most interested in. They did also interview Bobby Slowick. I don't know if it was more than once, but those are the two guys I am hoping for. The talk around Ben Johnson has gone up, and the talk around Slowick has diminished. Ben Johnson actually interviewed, I believe, for almost every vacancy. Slowick for about 3 to 4 different teams. I feel like maybe one thing that hinders Slowick is that he only had the 1 year as the offensive coordinator for the Texans. Right. So maybe a lot of people feel like, okay, let's pump the brakes a little bit, see what he can do next season before he earns that starting role as the head coach. Sure. But if that's the approach, I am fine with it. And also, Ben Johnson still being available as that hot new name out there is very interesting, considering I guess you're not allowed to hire him right now, but you got 6 teams that have already, made their decision. So maybe it's a mutual thing. Maybe Ben Johnson's interested in the Commander's job as much as they're interested in him. And there's already been some talks, saying, hey, look, just, wait before you sign anything with anybody else, because we're going to shoot a deal at you when we're allowed to. So yeah, that's how I see it panning out. I see Dan Quinn being the guy with the Seahawks, and Ben Johnson being getting his first head coaching position with the Commanders. So
yeah,
we will see.
I can absolutely see it playing out like that.
Yeah, because I mean, new owner, new general manager, new head coach, and then of course new quarterback. Because I'm sorry, they're not going to run it back with Hal. I just don't see it. It's it's sad. That poor kid. He got a rough deal, but we got to start fresh.
He'll be a great backup somewhere.
Yeah. I think honestly, I think just we did him such an injustice with the Eric Bieniemy project and the lame duck head coach and Ron Rivera, that he'd be best suited if we just release him. Another team will pick him up right away, either to compete for a starting role or to be a solid backup. So he deserves a fresh start somewhere else. But that is our football news, because outside of that, we're going to get into
football.
Yeah. That's our NFL football news, because outside of that, we're going to get into our divisional round recap and our conference championship games coming up. But in the world of football, the other football, also referred to as soccer, this was big news. I brought this to light to you because you had not heard about this yet, but I guess that's just because I'm more interested in English Premier League football. But Jurgen Klopp calling it quits after a 9-year stint. It's quite a long time for as a Premier League manager. The Liverpool manager is set to resign at the end of this season. Klopp, who's now 56, he signed a 4-year contract extension in 2022, and that would have tied him up till the end of the 2025-26 season. But he is saying his decision to resign early is due to him no longer having the energy. And I mean, I can get it. It's a, I mean, obviously I couldn't see myself as a head coach of one of those teams. It's crazy stressful, but not everyone's cut out for it. And not everyone can just keep it going like Man City's guy and Pep Guardiola. I mean, for Pep, that is his drug. That is his cocaine. He needs that shit. It keeps his heart moving. That I couldn't ever see him retiring from it, but this is just a really big blow for Liverpool, who sit atop the table right now, believe by like 5 points over City. So, just if I were a Liverpool fan, it would be a gut punch, because now you just know, oh shit, we have to win the league this year to at least get that one, because God knows what could happen following the post Klopp era, because it's not easy and not every manager's as capable to manage these high profile guys like Jurgen Klopp. So, just a big bummer for Liverpool Nation out there. So, but of course, as a City fan, it's fantastic, welcoming news. So I'm happy. I just hope there's not anything, any sad news behind it that we don't know about.
A little bit of that, that cancer or something. You think,
well, that's what my brother mentioned when I was talking to him about it. Yeah, like there's maybe he got some health diagnosis, and that's such a cynical way, or pessimistic way of looking at things. But I mean, it is kind of sudden, so who knows? Hopefully it really is just due to the fact that he's made his money and he just wants to go and spend time with his family. He wants to go back to Germany. So
yeah, fair.
Good for Jurgen Klopp.
I mean, if I lived in Liverpool, I'd probably be tired all the time too, because it rains a lot there, I think. And people who've listened to the show for a long time, and anyone who knows me really well, knows that I'm a diehard Liverpool fan. So this news, you called me up, you told me about it, and yeah, gut punch is definitely the right phrasing there. I was a little bit beside myself. I calmed myself. I think that Liverpool's going to be fine. It's more about the talent on the field. And I think moving forward, they're going to have a solid squad. They're going to bring home plenty of trophies. So I'm not as concerned. I just hope that, Klopp and company, as I like to call him, and his family, I hope everyone's okay. I hope it's not because of health reasons. But I did have that thought too, where I was like, it is, anytime you see that, yeah, we are very pessimistic, but you kind of have to wonder. I mean, it's probably not just like the rain and, eating Scotch eggs all day. Like they're probably a little fish and chips diet would make anyone tired. But I hope he's okay, and, go Liverpool, and they'll be fine.
We shall see, Josh. We shall see. But let's get right back to the NFL, because that is what we're here for, at least for the conference championship, final spectacular, as you referred to it as. So let's first recap last week's games in our divisional round, starting off with the Houston Texans, who went to Baltimore. I wrote down my scores, but I can't remember which game was which, so it really doesn't matter. I got them all wrong anyway. And I couldn't help but think a lot of these games were going to be close and whatever. I had the Texans giving the Ravens a game. I thought it was going to be an offensive shootout. Certainly didn't start that way, and it didn't end that way, at least for one team. At halftime, it was 10-10. So it looked like it was just going to be one of those slow defensive battles, maybe a 20-17 final at the most. But, no, the Texans got shut out by that Baltimore defense in the second half. They didn't score a single offensive touchdown. So there went our parlay because I had Collins getting that. That's what it is. I jinxed it by putting him in the parlay. So
Yeah.
instead of him scoring a later touchdown, they just said, you know what, let's not give the Texans any offensive touchdowns. And the Ravens got the win at the end of the day, 34-10. They just completely pulled away and they didn't look back. They truly do it just look like the best team in the AFC right now at minimum. So they and they're just damn good in Baltimore. Those Ravens, man, it's tough for any team going through there. But just tough outing for Stroud. I think he finally, the pressure got to him a little bit after that impressive wild card win. But hey, Texans fans have nothing to be upset about. I mean, they had one hell of a run. I mean, fuck, they won the division. They won a playoff game. The future looks super bright. So I would not be hanging my head low if I'm a Houston fan. And if I'm a Baltimore fan, I'm thinking Super Bowl or bust at this point.
Yeah, so this game started out almost exactly how I predicted it. Because I had said it would be a close, low-scoring game. Lamar Jackson jitters and C.J. Stroud kind of over his skis in this moment. Even though I'm with you, I think he's phenomenal. Houston found their quarterback. When you find your coach and quarterback together, you're going to win games, and they've done it, and they're going to be a good team for many years. But yeah, that second half, man. The Ravens figured it out. I don't know what adjustments they made. But Lamar Jackson running the ball, I guess, would probably be it. I think he finished with 100 yards rushing. And they looked really, really good in that second half. But I don't know, makes me a little concerned moving forward. Like, you can't get away with that against the higher caliber teams. So the Chiefs this weekend. So no spoilers just yet. But I wouldn't get too ahead of myself with that final score because in that first half, they looked like playoff Ravens. A little rusty. Lamar Jackson kind of playing tense. I don't know if he's a great playoff quarterback. And I think that first half kind of proved it. And even in the second half, he made some great throws, but he really did it all with his legs. So when you turn him into a one-dimensional quarterback, it makes him a lot easier to slow down. But that's all I'll say. Good for the Ravens. I did not see that final score coming. 34-10. Very impressive win by them.
Yeah, the last three looked like divisional round playoff games. Last three were highly competitive. The Packers against San Francisco was our second game on Saturday. 49ers got the win at the end of the day, 24-21. And this one, I heard that this was the first time the 49ers came back from a fourth quarter deficit to win the game under Kyle Shanahan ever. Can you believe that?
In the playoffs or ever?
Ever.
Is that right?
Ever. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
So they scored 10 unanswered in the fourth quarter to pull away with this one. And I'll be honest, I didn't watch the whole thing. I zoned out, passed out. I did not. I was just fucking tired. And you saw the whole thing, and apparently Packers had a chance to steal it, didn't they? I mean, their fans are probably still a bit bitter over this one.
Yeah, they did. It's asking a lot to have Jordan Love lead a game-winning drive in the rain on the road, and he made that horrible throw at the very, very end of the game.
Yeah,
that was like it was like bad Brett Favre, or like a really bad gunslinger type quarterback that's running one way, throwing against their body into the middle of the field in the rain on the road. Ugly, very ugly. But that's not the reason that the Packers lost, right? Brock Purdy sucked most of the game, but he had that really, really nice drive at the very end. Christian McCaffrey, of course, was unbelievable. He's just so fucking good, man. If we could poach one guy from them, I think it might be Christian McCaffrey. Like, he's just so good. I say year in, year out, when he's healthy, he's as good a running back as I've ever seen. But no, it kind of like the Texans Ravens. 49ers. Do you have the quarterback for the playoffs? I don't know. Like, he made me real nervous. Brock Purdy looked really bad in the first 3.5 quarters of that game. So again, you're just not going to be able to get away with that against the higher echelon of teams. And apparently, he's got the Kenny Pickett syndrome with the tiny hands. And if it's raining, he's in big trouble. Shouldn't be raining on Sunday, but still makes me nervous, Brock Purdy. But overall, they did what they had to do. They got it done. My Super Bowl is still alive because of it. Yeah. So way to go.
At the end of the day, the more Super Bowl ready team got the win.
Yeah, totally.
It probably, if I'm a Niners fan, I'm probably saying, probably shouldn't have been as close against a 9-8 wild card team at home. But, playoff games are tough, and sometimes they're going to be tight, but all that matters at the end of the day is coming out with the dub. But, they always, a lot of people say you got to win the turnover battle. And, you mentioned it, Jordan Love, he had those 2 interceptions. And when it's a 3-point loss, you can say that those interceptions made the difference. But yeah, I mean, again, if you're a Packers fan, you're super excited for next year. Because again, for them, the future is bright.
They're the youngest team in the league. Like, how could you not be fucking thrilled right now?
Absolutely. Not a whole lot of change expected there in Green Bay moving into next season. First game on the Sunday slate, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers went to Detroit to take on them Lions, who just keep on roaring, Josh. They just don't stop. This one was also tied at halftime, and it really came down to the fourth quarter for the Lions to finally pull away and get the 31-23 win. I guess they kind of already had pulled away, and then the Bucs scored a touchdown there and made it look like it was a little bit closer than it was, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
They went for that 2-point conversion that I was like, what in the fuck are they doing? Like, and you told me that, yeah, well, it's analytics. They say, you go for the 2 here and some shit. It's like, yeah, but I mean, why not go with the kicker who has not missed an extra point all season long? Put it to within 7. And then that way, if you get the ball back and you score another touchdown, all you got to do is kick the extra point. Would you go for 2 after that? I don't know. Doesn't matter. Lions get the dub, and they just, again, the more Super Bowl ready team, the better team got the win and is headed to the NFC Conference Championship. So good for Detroit. It's their first conference championship in what? Fucking almost 40 years or some shit?
No, 91. I think their last one was the Redskins beat them.
Oh, okay. All right. I knew it was the Redskins that beat them. I didn't know it was 91. Yeah. So still, that was a
lifetime.
I was 3 years old.
A lifetime ago.
I don't remember that game, but all right. Well, hey, good for Jared Goff and Detroit. Keep it going,
dude. Jared Goff's showing me something, man. He's real deal. I really like Jared Goff, and I think just like all these other young teams, like they've got a lot of really good young players. Lions are going to be around for a while too. That the NFC North moving forward could be just absolutely stacked if Minnesota plays their cards right. If Chicago, if Caleb Williams is as good as people say he's going to be, like those 4 teams are going to be really good over the next few years. So yeah, it's scary. Who'd have thought the fucking NFC North of all divisions could be turning out to be a fucking powerhouse division.
Mm-hmm. Not I. I don't think either of us had the Lions winning that division, did we?
I did.
Oh, you did? Good for you.
Bold predictions. Run the tape back. Actually, play the clip.
Yeah. I don't even remember who I picked, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't the Lions. I didn't have them having a bad season, but anyway, I digress. Let's move right along to the finale. And boy, what a finale it was. This one, I just, there was way too many emotions at stake on my end. Again, I'm just so sick of the Chiefs. Of course, they were playing the Bills, and the Bills needed to get over that hump. They needed to beat the Chiefs in the playoffs. They can beat them in the regular season. They can do it. But there's something about Kansas City in the playoffs. And everything was falling into their lap. They were in front of their home crowd, and the Buffalo weather. And the crowd was doing their part, man. I mean, they were loud as all hell. They were impacting the Chiefs offense, at least at the beginning of the game. Eventually, Chiefs got rolling there. But yeah, it's just, this one was tough because I figured if we were going to see the Bills lose, which they did, Chiefs won 27-24. I thought it would have happened due to bad Josh Allen making a surprise appearance because he was due his playoff game. But instead, he had a stellar game, and there was no blame to be put on Josh Allen. If anything, a lot of people are pointing to Tyler Bass and how, he missed that kick. No, man, I put it on coaching and I put it on the defense for the Bills. Granted, they are battered. They have more injuries on the defensive side of the ball than any team in the league, even, before the playoffs started. So they're depleted for sure, but they had an opportunity there, that final drive, to take the lead. And most likely, I mean, you can never really say this with when the Chiefs are offense is getting the ball, but it would have left like what, a minute on the clock or something, and they gone down, or a minute and 20 seconds,
something like that.
And they couldn't do it. It came down to a 4th and 4 on the final drive. They were moving the ball fine, but I know hindsight 2020, armchair Monday morning quarterback, whatever you want to call it, I would have gone for it with only 4 yards to go. The way your offense was moving the ball, the game that Josh Allen was having, even given the drops that we saw, some very costly drops for the Bills. Stephon Diggs did not have a great day in this one. I think the nerves were getting to him more than anybody else. But I just felt like with Tyler Bass, who had already proven to you a week prior that he was not the clutch guy that you need in those particular moments, they roll him out there and try for the not so easy field goal on a very windy Buffalo night. And it wasn't to be. And that sealed it because the Bills defense was not going to get the stop and get the ball back. Chiefs got a couple first downs with ease and called it a game. So, the Chiefs are just they're just a better playoff team. I mean, that's all you can really say on both sides of the ball.
Dynasty is the word you're looking for. I mean, I think they're already there. 6 straight AFC championship games. That's pretty impressive. 2 Super Bowls in 4 years. Like, that's pretty impressive, dude.
Okay.
So I don't know. I think I'm ready to put him in there. It would. I don't have much more to say other than Mahomes is fucking great at what he does. He's unbelievable. You have to really, as sick as we are, seeing the Chiefs win, it's fun to see a guy that's as good as he is just play well, right? It's fun to have a guy be the best in the world at something and get to see it. And right now, Mahomes is easily the best in the world. And dude, Pacheco, that guy fucking runs, man. I'm not trying to make this all about the running backs in this episode, but fuck, that guy is so hard to bring down. He's maybe the hardest runner of anybody in the league. So if they get the offense moving against the Ravens, they're going to be really tough to stop because the story this year has been their defense. I don't think they've given up 30 points to any team at any point this year. So their defense is legit, and when you've got Mahomes, you've got a chance. So yeah, it was shocking to see the Bills lose after the run that they were on, and it not be Josh Allen's fault. I would not have guessed that. If you had told me Josh Allen plays a good game, I would have said, okay, the Bills are going to win. And sure enough, man, he did all he could, and they still just fell a little bit short.
And you are correct, my friend. They have not allowed 30 points to any team. Wow. So there you have it. That is what we like to call the Brash Sports Jinx. Lock it up. Lock it
Yeah.
up. Ravens 30 plus on Sunday. But yes, we will go ahead and move on over to those conference championship matchups. Both, of course, being on Sunday. One is a 3 o'clock Eastern time kickoff. The other at 6:30. The first one, I mean, there's not a bad matchup. I'm a little surprised just the way the scheduling's gone for the playoffs that they put the Chiefs Ravens as the first game. I just would have thought they would have, put the Lamar Jackson, Pat Mahomes game as the last one or the big prime time matchup. But no, they're throwing that one at us right away on Sunday afternoon, and I'm fine with it. Again, not a bad game on the slate here for the two we have remaining, which is usually the case for the conference championship games. But the Chiefs head to Baltimore. The Chiefs, who are 6-2 away from home, and the Ravens, who are 6-2 or 5-3. I hate how ESPN sometimes fucks with me and messes with it, but 5-3 at home in the regular season. They like to throw an extra one in there to say, "Hey, let's see if when these idiots are recording and they're going by our statistics here, if he fucks and stumbles all over his words." But Ravens, I think, look like the best team right now. I mean, they look like the best team at the end of the season. When we did our brackets, of course, I had the Ravens going all the way. Because a lot of the times that hottest team ends up proving it and going all the way. The Ravens, they are favored by 4 points in this one. The over-under, at least according to the ESPN spread and total, is 44.5. So that seems kind of low. But again, both these are two solid defenses, as you mentioned. This is going to be a great game. So many things could happen here. I mean, truly, here, let me start off by saying this, okay? Obviously, we already know who I want to win, and I had already picked the Ravens to go all the way. That said, I had the Chiefs losing to the Dolphins, okay, and the wild card, and we saw how that worked. The Chiefs have proved me wrong in terms of how I will never, ever pick them to lose another wild card game as long as Pat Mahomes is their quarterback, especially if it's Pat Mahomes is their quarterback and Andy Reid is their head coach. But I just think it's a tall order for them against this Baltimore defense, much better than the Bills defense. And the Bills, who were, again, they were so beat up, just a lot of injuries, and it was not representative of the defense that could have been out there had they been as healthy as the Baltimore Ravens are right now. And I just think the Ravens are a better coach team. They're not going to let Travis Kelce get wide open, okay? Especially more than once. So I think if they really, that's the X factor for me. The linebackers covering Travis Kelce, if they are able to diminish his impact on this one, Josh, keep him within anywhere from four or five catches only, 0 touchdowns. I think the Ravens win this one easy. I really do. That said, I think it'll be a close game regardless. I still think with both these stellar defenses, it could be surprisingly high scoring. Because you never know. We could see some more special teams touchdowns like we saw in that Texans game. It was, was that a punt return? I think it was. Return. And I don't know. I'm going. Here's my hunch is I'm going with the Ravens. I think the defense leads the way. I'm not expecting Lamar to have a great game, honestly, but I'm not expecting Mahomes to have a great game either. I think they will rely heavily on the run game and the defense, but somehow the Ravens win by at least 7 points in Baltimore. Wow. That's right. I said it. So, give me the Ravens by 7. I don't think they'll get to 30 points. I was kidding, of course, before. And I'm going to go 17-24.
Okay. Well, that would be under 44.5.
Did I say over?
Oh, I thought you had mentioned that. But
Well, I just said that seems pretty low, but then
okay.
I mentioned how it's two
Well,
really good defenses. But
well, no, that's fine because I like the under as well. I think this is going to be slugfest. This is going to be teams not wanting to throw the ball and just field position, special teams, not a ton of flash, not a ton of fireworks. I think both teams probably end up in the teens. I think it's going to be some sort, some like a 17-14 type game.
mm-hmm.
And I really think it's just who has the ball last probably wins. Now, Lamar Jackson, as I mentioned earlier, makes me very nervous. I don't think his playoff career has been shaky at best. And last week, that second half, he played well, but that first half was alarming. And all the games before, alarming. He just hasn't won in the playoffs. Mahomes wins fucking every game in the playoffs, seemingly. So I don't know. My gut is that the Ravens win, but I'm gonna pick the Chiefs because I have to stick by my preseason predictions. Chiefs winning the Super Bowl, gotta stick with it. But man, this is easily the toughest game that the Chiefs will have in a long time because this Ravens team is it's phenomenal, especially defensively. But yeah, and as far as like the Travis Kelce thing goes, what's really tough about him is a lot of times when he's open, it's just because Mahomes creates extra time in the pocket or outside of the pocket, and the coverage kind of breaks down. And him and Kelce, Mahomes and Kelce have this like telepathic way that they fucking know how to find each other on the field. Kelce just finds a gap. Mahomes knows where he's going to be and fucking hits him. I could see that being, on 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6. I think you're going to see a lot of those because they're going to run the ball on 1st and 2nd. And just Kelce finds a gap, makes a big catch, keeps the ball moving. But I don't think we're going to see a lot of points. I think it's going to be, I'll say 16-13 Chiefs. That'll be my official pick. Field goals, a lot of field goals.
Yeah. I mean, I think again, I don't think either quarterback because they're promoting this as Jackson versus Mahomes. It sounds like a boxing match.
It does.
I think neither quarterback is going to have a great day. And I think it's going to be for different reasons. I think Lamar Jackson's going to do things to shoot himself in the foot and just won't be himself. But the team is so well prepared that he doesn't have to have one of those great games for them to come out with the win. It's even against a great team in the Chiefs. I think it's from Mahomes' side, it'll be that defense for Baltimore that'll be putting him in uncomfortable situations constantly and forcing him to throw the ball away or scramble and perhaps lead to a turnover or two. Bold prediction. I think defense scores a touchdown for both teams in this.
Wow, one. That is bold. Yep. I like that.
Real bold. All right. Okay. Well, there you have it. You got the Chiefs. I got the Ravens. Let's move right along to our late game in the Detroit Lions, who are leaving home for the first time in the playoffs and go to Santa Clara, take on the 49ers. I mean, both these teams finished the regular season at 12-5. Surprisingly, 49ers are favored by 7. Seems kind of high for a playoff game, especially for anybody that saw how they matched up against the Packers and how they had to come back from a losing position to win that one. Over-unders 51.5 in this one. I mean, this one, I mean, it's not like the Chiefs Ravens where I want the Chiefs to lose just because I'm just sick and tired of the Chiefs. Lions, 49ers, I really don't care. I'm not sick of either of these two teams. I mean, who would I rather see win? The Detroit Lions. I mean, of course, I'm a Redskins fan. I'm always going to pull for the underdogs because especially, Lions fans, Bills fans, Browns fans. I mean, I know how it is to suck for a very long period of time. So I root for the fan bases primarily. And the 49ers, they've been in a few Super Bowls the last 10 years. They've been on the losing end, but still, it's still nice to get to the big dance. And favored by 7, that worries me. I wanted to be bold here and switch up what I had in my bracket because I did go on seeds, making it to the Super Bowl, having a Ravens 49ers matchup. But dude, that Vegas line is telling me that they fucking know something. So I am not going to switch up my prediction. I'm sticking with the 49ers. And you know what? I like the over. I like over 51 and a half. I think this is going to be one where late in the game, the Niners have like a 14-point lead, and then the Lions look like they're clawing back in the fourth quarter. It looks like there's a chance, but on their drive where they have an opportunity to tie it, Goff throws a really shitty interception or gets sacked, by Bosa and fumbles it. Bosa's playing, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I know Debo's going to be back for this one too, so that's going to help. That for the ammunition, if you will, for the 49ers. I mean, they're going to have all of it, to expel on the poor Lions. Again, hope I'm wrong. Hope the Lions win. I would love to see a Lions-Ravens Super Bowl. But yeah, at the end of the day, I think the Niners get the job done. And I know some of it was considered garbage time, but Baker Mayfield threw for like 350 yards against this Detroit defense last week. Look for Brock Purdy to match that. I think he's probably going to have his best playoff performance in the conference finals. So, and the guy he doesn't make those big mistakes, and I just think Goff does at the end of the day. So they won't be able to get over that hump and get to the Super Bowl. Hey, getting to the conference championship's pretty damn good, but give me the Niners to get the win at home.
Yeah, see, I'm in almost full agreement with you everywhere except for the Goff versus Purdy debate. I'd much rather have Jared Goff leading my team. He's been there, done that before. He's had an amazing season. I think he's probably the most underrated quarterback in the NFL. But you're right. Teams have to go through those steps, man. It always seems to be that way. Like, first you win the division, then you win one playoff game, then you maybe win the conference. But like, you can't just go from being the Lions to going to the Super Bowl. I'm sorry, it doesn't work that way. That's why I'm unfortunately picking the 49ers. But I will say this: that disrespectful line, because people have been betting the lines enough that it came down to 7, because it was at 7.5. As early as this morning, I looked and it was 7.5. So Vegas does know something. I wouldn't bet Lions money line, which I think is one of the most popular bets of the weekend. Because I do think the 49ers walk away with a win, but man, I think Detroit plus 7, especially if you can get it with the hook, the 7.5, that's a great bet, because this is another game where it feels like it's going to be close. And I was going to bring up the point that you brought up. I think the 49ers can get a good lead, especially early in the game, just going strictly on script, right? You can write this game plan out, execute in practice, and say, hey, go do that, because they're more talented. They've got the better O-line, better weapons, better everything, really, except for quarterback. But Brock Purdy can manage that script very easily. He's done it all season long. He's put up numbers doing it. But when the Lions make adjustments at halftime and Brock Purdy starts to feel that pressure a little bit, closing out a game to go to the Super Bowl, and pressure from the Lions D-line, which is good. I mean, Aiden Hutchinson's a fucking stud. So I think once that happens, I could see Brock Purdy shrinking a little bit, making some bad mistakes. Lions getting back into the game, covering in garbage time, but coming up short. So I have this game. I had it in my head earlier. I think it was 20, 27, 24, something like that. Let's do 27, 23. San Francisco.
Okay. All right. Well, that makes it easier for me because I'm gonna go I'll go 30-24 for the Niners.
No, that's
30-24 for the Niners to win the NFC, and to remind you 24-17 for the Ravens. So there you go. So we both have the same NFC champion, but we split on the winner of the AFC.
I think you're going to see two really good games. So if you're gambling, take the points. And I like unders too. So one bet that I'm going to do for sure is a teaser play where it's like Chiefs plus 10, Lions plus 13, and then tease both of the unders. Have like a 4-way teaser because I feel really good about that. I don't think we're going to see a lot of points, and I think we're going to see some really close games.
I will say bold prediction because I made the big bold prediction that both defenses will score a touchdown with the Chiefs-Ravens game. I'll say for the Lions 49ers, Lions get a 2-point conversion at some point in the game. There's my bold prediction.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. I mean, Dan Campbell,
it's 22-30, and they go for 2 and make it 24-30.
Nice.
Instead of just kicking the extra point,
Hell yeah.
just going back to what I was saying before, how it doesn't make any sense, and they do it.
Dude,
so there you have it.
I love that. That's a great call. That's going to happen.
Very specific.
Well, it was going to happen until you said it out loud.
Yep. I know. Well, actually, no, I have the Sports Almanac, the 2024 Sports Almanac. So.
All right, man. Well, I hope we get some interesting games. Like I think we will, but I really hope that these are two entertaining, close games that keep us engaged for the whole time. And I think we're going to see that.
All right, my friend. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Not sure if we're going to do a Pro Bowl episode, but or Pro Bowl week, there's a lot of fun shit we could figure out for that one. But we're definitely, of course, going to be back before the Super Bowl because that's what it's all about is the Super Bowl episode. So
I thought we were going to record
a lot of prop bets coming up.
I thought we were going to record every single day of the Pro Bowl. I thought we were going to do Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Give the most
live scene
in Orlando.
Yep. Yeah. We'll go around, interview the coaches and the college players.
All right, buddy.
All right. Later, my friend. I will catch you next week.
Peace.
Peace.